I'm Kerry Shale.
And I'm Daniel Crespin.
And this is Bob Dylan.
Approximately.
Okay, forgive me, Dan, but I'm going to read a few verses of Po' Boy in a slightly different way. So bear with me, please. I'm going to go through a number of these verses. Man comes to the door. I say, "For whom are you looking?" He says, "Your wife." I say, "She's busy in the kitchen cooking." "Poor boy, where you been?" "I already told you, won't tell you again." I say, "How much you want for that?" I go into the store. The man says, $3. "All right," I say. "Will you take 4? Poor boy, never say die. Things will be all right by and by. Othello told Desdemona, "I'm cold, cover me with a blanket. By the way, what happened to that poison wine?" She says, "I gave it to you, you drank it." Poor boy, laying him straight, picking up the cherries falling off the plate. Time and love has branded me with its claws. Had to go to Florida, dodging them Georgia laws. Poor boy, sitting in the gloom, calls down the room service, says, "Send up a room." And the last one. Knocking on the door, I say, "Who is it and where are you from?" Man says, "Freddie." I say, "Freddie who?" He says, "Freddie or not, here I come." Poor boy, 'neath the stars that shine, washing them dishes, feeding them swine.
There we are.
So the thing that, I love this song.
Me too.
But it really is, it's funnier than it seems because
It's
Dylan,
hilarious. It's a brilliantly funny, fantastic, and it's one that almost passed me by a little bit. Like, I've always loved Love and Theft, but Poor Boy was kind of like, oh yeah, Poor Boy, it's good. It's a good thing towards the end of the album, kind of gets you.
Yeah.
But no, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's
really
so
brilliant.
unusual in every way. Name
me another song that's like this.
Yeah. I mean, musically, but also, so the thing that jumped out at me, I so much more enjoyed listening to this over and over again than, say, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. Because it does have genuine comedy in it, and it's got like a vaudeville comedy. Like the Marx Brothers, like the Three Stooges, like Jack Benny, all of whom came out of vaudeville, all of whom were Jewish. And, you mentioned this in a last podcast about a certain Jewish element in a song. This is Dylan's most Jewish song, other than talking Hava Nagila blues.
Right.
Yeah, these guys all come, like, to me, and I don't think, this isn't one of my crazy theories. I stand behind this completely, that the guys like the Marx Brothers came out of the Borscht Belt in the Catskill Mountains, funnily enough, where Woodstock is also in the Catskills. So a classic Borscht Belt schtick is the little man getting kicked around by life, but somehow still talking his way out of things. And that's all this guy is. Like, even Othello is like a little man. Yeah. "I'm cold, cover me with a blanket. By the way, what happened to that poison wine?"
I give it to you, I drank it. Oh, it's so good. I love it so much.
It also reminds me a bit, although not in tone, but just Randy Newman, again, another sort of Jewish. You're pointing your fingers. So what do you have to say about Randy Newman?
I was going to say it later, but he basically, let me see if I can. Yeah, it's basically he's using a lot of jazzy chords, which Dylan doesn't often use. So there's a B-7, there's a D9, an F6, a G6. Now the ninth note if you put a ninth note in a song, it generally gives this sort of bright, open, acoustic-y feel. Randy Newman uses them all the time, especially you think of the Toy Story theme track. There's so much that sounds a bit like this song.
Yeah.
It's the ninth of the chord. Something about the way it rings. It's got this jazzy sort of bright feeling.
Yeah, very open.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a feeling of the song.
It's like strolling in a field almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, you got a lot of nerve to say you are my friend.
No, it's
the opposite. It's sweet. It's actually really sweet.
It is sweet. It's sweet and funny, and
speaking of, there was another guy that I didn't mention because he's very obscure in the UK, and he's actually obscure now in America. There was this guy called Myron Cohen, who, believe it or not, was Jewish. And
who'd have thunk it?
he was on the Ed Sullivan Show all the time. He was like on almost more than anybody else. And he was this sweet old Jewish guy. He'd come on and say, a man comes to the door. I say, for whom are you looking? He says, your wife. I say, she's busy in the kitchen cooking. It's that. It's actually more Myron Cohen. Than anything. But
it's an interesting one, though, that you bring up the Jew. I hadn't thought of it, but it's kind of quite Jackie Mason-esque and stuff like that. But it also always had to me a sort of southern vibe about it, like Po' Boy for one. That's almost a southern African American sound. Well, and even the first line, he doesn't say a man came to the door. He says man came to the door. It's almost quite an African American cadence.
You could do that. Man comes to the door. I say, for whom are you looking? He says, your wife. I said, she's busy in the kitchen cooking.
It's very like that. And also, I thank you to Tony Atwood from bob/dylan.org.uk for this. But a po' boy is a traditional New Orleans sandwich, apparently.
I've eaten it.
Really? Is it good?
It's a meal in a bun.
Yeah.
Honestly. I had a po' boy and I didn't want dinner. I had a po' boy for lunch and I didn't want dinner. Yeah. No, it's wonderful. In fact, I've got a T-shirt downstairs with the this place that it said. They also did a sandwich called the muffaletta, and it's an Italian deli in New Orleans. It says home of the muffaletta. Can't fit into it anymore. I've eaten too many muffalettas.
The one thing this song, doing the research, because I love this song, but it's always nice diving deeper into it. I just realised, when Nish did the podcast, he said something that was really interesting. He said, Dylan could have gone away on his motorcycle in '66 and he'd still be maybe even more legendary than he is now.
Yeah. Because he'd be like James Dean or somebody who quit.
Exactly.
Or was killed.
Yeah. But he was so genius in the 60s and he was so genius in 75 and he was so genius throughout his career. You almost think he couldn't get better, but his phrasing has gotten so much better as he's gotten older. I mean, this song is almost impossible.
I don't think it's been covered.
I
looked for a cover. Yeah.
How the hell do you... I mean, you couldn't even read a lot of this stuff.
No. He has gotten better in so many things, in so many ways.
And this is what I was bringing it to, because there's a thing that's come out this week. Obviously, this will be going out later, but Paul McCartney did an interview on The Rest is Entertainment, and didn't take I wouldn't say it was a pop at Bob, but they were asking about live shows, and he essentially said, well, these people have paid to play mates. Like I don't go and see Bob anymore because he was back. I won't try and quote him because I haven't listened to the whole thing. But he's basically saying, you've got to think about the crowd more and you've got to think about this. And I thought about it, but also at the end of the episode, he played one of his new songs and it's so fucking dreadful and it's so boring. And my point was, to be an artist throughout your life, you cannot pander to people.
Yeah.
And Bob has never pandered to anyone. Tracy Emin has never pandered to anyone. He's still not pandering to anyone. Picasso never pandered to anyone. Neither does Bob. And that's why what he's releasing still in his 80s is interesting.
Yeah.
And why Paul, I'd go and see Paul live, but I'm not listening to that new album, It's
no, I know what you mean.
It's kind of...
he gives the folks what they want.
Yeah.
That's what the Beatles did, actually, because the Beatles and their fans were completely in sync. And so he gave them what they wanted, and they loved it.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I ate it all up, absolutely. But I haven't listened to a new Paul McCartney album for ages. Actually, I did. I listened to McCartney... I think it was McCartney 3, that one that came out about, I guess it was 5 or 6 years ago. It was self-produced. He did it in his own studio, and there was nobody else on it. He played all the instruments. And actually, there were a few songs on there. Actually, I didn't actually get past the 4th or 5th song. But the first 3 or 4 I really kind of like, because they were quite experimental.
But the fact that, we've now covered a lot of Love and Theft. We've covered Love and Theft more than any album.
Yeah, we have.
And that was released,
in
39,
2001. Yeah,
so 39 years after his first release. Yeah, 62. So,
yeah.
And it's...
Yeah.
And it's astonishing. And what's come since then is astonishing in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's why... even now, I've written down the accompaniment of the acoustic guitar is just class throughout this. He had his best live backing band at that time, and they all came into the studio, and you can tell. But he's now going back to that sound with the current Rough and Rowdy Ways leg. It's all acoustic guitar, but somehow rocks. I don't get how he's doing it. Huh. So, these things come back around for Bob.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back to the humor of the song and in the Jewish humor of the song. Because I mentioned talking Hava Nagila Blues, which was was recorded at the Freewheelin' sessions. I don't think he ever intended to put it on the album, but he recorded it. And, he says this is a foreign song I learned in Utah. And that's that's actually very in joke if you're Jewish, because somehow it just rings like calling it a foreign song. In fact, when you grow up in a middle-class, non-Orthodox Jewish household like I did and like Bob did, you grow up singing it. Like you hear it at every wedding. You hear it at every bar mitzvah. It's just a good old up-tempo, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila. It's passed into, you've seen it in movies and things like that. Yeah. And he's taken the piss out of it, but in a kind of in sort of a loving way. And then, so what I did when I was preparing this is I Googled Hava Nagila Bob Dylan, and it came up with this thing which I think I'd stumbled on once years ago. It's Dylan singing, or rather taking part in a Jewish telethon in 1989.
Yes,
have you seen that?
Yes, I have, yeah.
It's amazing. With Harry Dean Stanton on the guitar. Yeah. Somebody else singing Hava Nagila.
It's still on YouTube if people want to find it.
I watched it like last week.
Yeah.
And Dylan blowing away on his harmonica.
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, yeah.
And they're all wearing yarmulkes as well. What blew my mind was Harry Dean Stanton. It just seemed like Harry Dean Stanton playing Hava Nagila with Bob Dylan. Yeah. Anyway, he's ambivalent about his, Judaism. But I do think that this is his most Jewish song. But there's a few verses in between those ones. I specifically only read the Jewish joke verses at the beginning, and I left out the other ones. But a lot of them apparently are from Confessions of a Yakuza. And so he's combined this very obscure Japanese novel with, Hava Nagila type humor. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. There was another thing. Oh, yeah. So the Confessions of a Yakuza moment. My mother was the daughter of a wealthy farmer. Yeah. She died when I was 11. My father was a traveling salesman. I never met him. My uncle was a nice man. I won't forget him. After my mother died, I decided it'd be best to go and try my luck there. So
that's from Confessions of a Yakuza.
Which is basically an entire verse of the song is kind of taken from there. I have to mention this because it's my favourite part of the song. As I say, Shakespeare and Dylan are my two favourite artists. So when my favourite artist, Dylan, quotes my second favourite artist, it's always exciting. But it's a brilliant line, but it's wrong. It's not what happens in Othello. Othello doesn't drink poisoned wine. It's almost like he's mixing Othello and Hamlet. It's almost like, because it's like Claudius gets stabbed but then is forced to drink the poisoned wine. Yeah. But no, Desdemona is she's sort of the powerful one in that verse, isn't she? But she's not in the play. In the play she's smothered to death, and then when he finds out her innocence, he kills himself, stabs himself, I believe. But it's just brilliant. Oh, by the way, what happened to that poison? I gave it to you. You drank it. It's so brilliant.
I know. He turns that, and it's a high tragedy, and he turns it into a bit of shtick.
Yeah.
Because it's about, I've got a little thing that I've written about it. It says Othello is about jealousy, manipulation, insecurity, and being an outsider. I think that's quite interesting, the being an outsider thing, because I think Dylan does identify with outsiders. But he turns it into a shtick, like a punchline, like Othello and Desdemona. We all know how that ended.
Yeah,
it didn't Not go like well.
Yeah, so well. Yeah,
but what it really. But why it's in a Dylan song, I think, is it's about a man who's destroyed by a false narrative. Like you can you explain about Iago too, because you're the Shakespeare.
Yeah, sure. Just generally him as a character. So
and what he does to Othello.
So Iago, he's the only one really in the play with soliloquies. So I always think if the actor playing Iago does his job well, you should feel complicit because he's taking you step by step through his thought process. And he basically just concocts this scheme to make make Othello think that Desdemona is being unfaithful to him with Cassio, and he goes through loads of different plots, and he gets Cassio drunk, and then he just manipulates the whole thing. It's him bringing everything down, and at the end, it's a very interesting ending for Iago because he's asked why he's done this, and he says, "From this moment forward, I no more shall speak." So we don't know if he dies, but he just says, "I'm not going to explain, and I will never speak again." He's defeated, but yeah, the one of the famous lines, and that's why I did think, is the poison sort of more of an element, because there's no poison wine in Othello, I don't believe, but there is poison as a metaphor. Jealousy is the big
and he poisons
theme.
his mind. Iago poisons
he says,
Othello's mind,
and Iago says, "Beware my," because Iago's pretending to be through it all his confidant.
Buddy. Yeah.
He says, "Beware, my lord of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster that doth mock the meat it feeds on." So it's like it will poison you. It will go into your core.
Meanwhile, he's poisoning him.
He is literally. Oh, it's genius levels of manipulation in that play.
So the reason that I'm focusing on this now is because Othello is destroyed because he accepts this false narrative, this script about himself. In Po' Boy, the character keeps slipping into roles, like he's playing these various roles: the lover, the clown, the drifter, the victim.
Yeah. And
Dylan reminds us, I think this is the serious bit about the song, that you shouldn't let other people write your story for you. In this song, in Po' Boy, which seems to be so funny, because in the end, the last line, he's washing dishes and feeding pigs, which doesn't seem, it seems like a pretty rough ending, a pretty dark ending.
It does to me feel like the main character is just kind of pushed about by the system a little bit. But as you say, there is a wit and a freedom to him still. But yeah, to me it feels like, a manual labourer being kind of taken advantage of a little bit.
Yeah, a good-natured person, an open person, like the music. Again, if you heard that music, you would think the lyrics would be, it's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, I'm happy, and the sky is blue. Instead, there's, poisoned wine.
And he does it so much on this album, Floater, which we covered, one of our first ones we ever covered. It's similar. Again, you kind of look into it more and you realize, oh, there's sadness in there. There's sadness in this song. Yeah. Another one of my favorite lines from this brilliant song. There's many, but all that I know is I'm thrilled by your kiss. I can't say any more than this. I think, as a man who has consistently chosen and fallen in love with the wrong women, that really it makes sense to me. I can't explain why, but I'm just obsessed with you a little bit. I don't know why I like you. I'm just thrilled by being with you, and that I love that line.
It's interesting that there's that little bit of love in the middle of all this, because it is a song I think more and more about, putting aside the Jewish humor bit, going more to the Othello bit, that it's a song about false narratives and love being another story that you kind of write for yourself.
It's a really interesting theory. Yeah, I like that, because that makes it sort of more three-dimensional, which is probably what Bob's doing, rather than just someone being pushed around.
I'm sure it's deeper than it seems. It seems so light and floaty, but I think it's deeper. And another thing that popped into my head along those lines about letting other people write your story for you. You shouldn't let other people get your kicks for you. That popped into my head, and I thought, oh, that's a theme. Well, certainly it's a theme that's come up in this song. It's about letting other people. You shouldn't let other people get your kicks for you.
Yeah,
you shouldn't lose sight of yourself. Even things like in the jokes, like the jokes. There's much more, because they're not proper jokes. The man says $3. All right, I say, will you take $4? That's funny because the person has undercut himself. And
it's funny because of the music with it, I think. That's the thing. The way the music shifts with it.
Yeah. But it's also like, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
Why would you undersell yourself? Have a bit of, like, the Po' Boy. doesn't seem to have a lot, a center, a pride. He's not taking himself seriously. He's taking himself like he's a joke.
Yeah.
Obviously everybody, somebody is come to screw his wife, and he goes into a store. He's actually basically losing money on every business transaction he does. He's actually going to drink the poison wine, or he does drink the poison wine.
It's so interesting. I mean, I won't be in it anymore by the time this comes out, but I've been in a play that we both have strong thoughts about. But there's a line in it that reminds me of that, your wife, she's busy in the kitchen cooking. And it's Seraphian, Phil Daniels' character, goes, call my wife, tell her I won't be home for this. And then the guy comes back on and goes, phone the wife. Yep. Bloke answered. And it's kind of like that. Oh, where's your wife? Oh, she's busy in the kitchen cooking. Your wife is with me, is what that line means. I
didn't. Sorry, bloke answered. Oh, bloke answered.
Yeah, bloke answered is what is in the play. So
that's very po' boy.
I've come to see where my wife is. Oh, she's in my kitchen. She's cooking. It's kind of
interesting. Yeah. Well, it is. It's the sort of classic sort of sad sack. What's the word for it? It's the cuckold.
Cuckold. Yeah.
He's a cuckold, and he's.
It's interesting though. As you say, it sounds very bright. It sounds very kind of thing. And with that brightness, you kind of think, oh, it's quite a simple arrangement. It's not at all. And actually, Larry Campbell, who's the guitarist on this, was asked about it and was talking about the jazzy element of this song. Oh, yeah. He said Bob showed it to him apparently in '99, so 2 years before it was recorded, the sort of first inklings of this song. He said they were relatively sophisticated changes for a Bob Dylan song. That was the first inkling of what the material might be like on Love and Theft, taking elements from the jazz era and adding a folk sensibility to it. And if you look at the chords written down, they are really jazzy chords. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's so, he's done so much musically because we're coming close to doing the next song, and which is It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding, and
God help us.
But it's like two different. It's hard to believe it came out of the same brain.
That's why he's so good, isn't it? Hi, Bobcats. If you enjoy Bob Dylan approximately and would like access to longer bonus episodes,
early access to all episodes,
plus a whole range of exclusive membership benefits,
consider becoming a Bobsessive over at our Patreon page.
You'll get all that for just £5 a month.
Oh, and if you're going to sign up, please do so via a web browser rather than the Patreon app.
Or Apple take 30% of our Patreon fee.
Because money doesn't talk, it swears.
Disillusioned words like bullets bark as human gods aim for their mark. Made everything from toy guns that spark to flesh-coloured Christs that glow in the dark. It's easy to see without looking too far that not much is really sacred. While preachers preach of evil fates, teachers teach that knowledge waits, can lead to $100 plates. Goodness hides behind its gates. But even the President of the United States sometimes must have to stand naked. And though the rules of the road have been lodged, it's only people's games that you've got to dodge. And it's all right, Ma. I can make it. God, it's good, isn't it? As an actor, that's a treat. Like getting to read that.
Yeah.
In fact, I was writing down, okay, which bit am I going to pick to read out? Yeah. And I was reading it to myself, and I thought, there's only one person who's ever written poetry like this that is better for an actor, and it's William Shakespeare. So it's actually unbelievable.
It's not as hard as some of his, although it's not easy. You have to know. Not everybody can read that with authority.
Yeah,
but. It's. I often think it's the. I wish I was a singer who sang in front of people, only so I could sing Bob Dylan songs.
Yeah,
like singing Bob Dylan songs.
There's something incredible.
The words are so. I mean, there is a part of me that whenever I listen to a non-Bob Dylan song, I think, well, this is great. This is absolutely great.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as
it's not as good. Yeah. And I have to say, as someone who sings Dylan a lot live when I play live, which I haven't for a while, but you do get people. It's quite nice because you bring your own element to it. I often rearrange them slightly, but people go, "What's that song? That's an incredible song." and then they're like, "Oh, it's Bob Dylan." They go, "Oh," because they don't like Bob Dylan's voice.
Exactly.
But you get to share the work with people who just don't like the aesthetic of his voice, which is nice.
I actually, if I'm going to just read a verse, if I may, just for
please
the
do.
fun of it, because this is the one that really, like a lot of Bob Dylan verses, I love and admire, but I'm not 100% behind them because I don't understand them. But this one, I do. I understand it, and I'm 100% behind it from this song, which, have we said, it's from It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding.
It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding, from Bringing It All Back Home.
So this just speaks to me of, this is why people thought he was the voice of a generation, one of the reasons, even though he was past the folky thing. For them that must obey authority, that they do not respect in any degree, who despise their jobs, their destinies, speak jealously of them that are free, cultivate their flowers to be nothing more than something they invest in. God, I think that's back in the day when I had me long hair and me drugs, that was the straights. This was the straight life. We referred to people as straights, and this was what they would do. They'd get up in the morning and they'd go and clock in. I mean, people still do it, and I empathize with them now because I'm a grown-up person, and I'm glad that I don't have to do that. But,
yeah, me too.
But and the fact that they speak jealously of them that are free, and this is a brilliant way of putting it. Cultivate their flowers to be nothing more than something they invest in. That's so sad.
Yeah, and
it actually there's a certain amount of pathos there. Like there's a certain amount of sympathy.
Because there's a lot of. Taken at face value, this song can seem very nihilistic. There's lots of nihilism in here. That it's sort of, but to me, it's kind of, there's this inherent suffering to being a human, but you can be free of it. You can be free of that life if you want. It's, again, don't let anyone tell you your narrative. People have told you since you were 4 years old that you'll grow up, be a lawyer, do that. Whatever, great if that's your path. If not, there's freedom here. And if not, yes, life can be shit, but it's all right. I can make it. We're here. I'm only bleeding. It's only,
it's
I'll
life and
going.
life only.
It's life and life only.
I was always puzzled by that line for a long time, and then I thought, no, it's a great line. It's
a brilliant line.
It encompasses everything.
It is what it is.
It is what
are
it
you
is.
going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? As we say.
Keep on keeping on. Yeah.
So the first line of the song, darkness at the break of noon. It's a very Bob thing. It's never dark at noon, is it? Unless in stories something's gone terribly wrong. So another Shakespeare thing. After the killing of Duncan in Macbeth, the sun doesn't rise anymore. Do you know that bit?
No, I mean, I know. I didn't take that on board.
So there's a small scene. I think it's either one or two scenes after the killing of Duncan, where Ross and someone else are talking about what's happening. The sun hasn't risen. Wow. We're in perpetual darkness. There we go.
Bob loves his Shakespeare.
But I love that break of darkness at the break of noon. It's like, well, it isn't dark at noon.
I know, it's a great. Although Arthur Koestler wrote this book called Darkness at Noon. That's
okay. I didn't know that. Right,
Some people say that maybe he took it from that, but I still get goose pimples listening to this song, written in 1964.
I mean.
It's so dangerous, still so angry. And, going on from Darkness at the Break of Noon, Shadows, even the Silver Spoon, reminds me of fucking Trump and Nigel Farage. But even their silver spoons can't keep them out of the shadows.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in this about capitalism is just way too... not the right word.
It is more than that, isn't
it? It's much more than that, but it's people who
consumerism, I guess.
Consumerism and also the people who corruption. Yes, it's about corruption. Really.
Which that's the thing. I do get the sense that some people think I'm some communist. I'm not actually. I'm not massively against capitalism, but when it's regulated, because what capitalism does is it can make greedy and corrupt people even more greedy and corrupt, and they benefit from that system. That's my issue with it, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't make you communist. No. I mean, we're trying to earn a living here. somebody had to, buy these microphones
Yeah,
that we're speaking through. But one of my favorite lines, speaking of the political aspects of it, is that they make everything from toy guns that spark to flesh-colored Christs that glow in the dark. And that reminds me of my dear old dad, because that's what he sold.
Yeah.
He sold both those things.
Yeah.
I had a little toy cap gun that came from my dad's because he sold toys.
Yeah.
And he also sold flesh-colored Christs.
Yeah.
Because he sold souvenirs and things that you could buy at gas stations on the Trans-Canada Highway. So he sold all those things.
It feels incredibly modern to me, this song. It could be talking about the disillusionment of the modern world. It's almost like it doesn't matter if anything's sacred. Can I make a buck from it? That sort of thing of consumerism. But
it's not so much. It's not a finger pointing song.
No,
it's just a bullshit detector song. It's just sort of saying this is the way it is. There's no solutions. It's just what you wake up or you don't wake up.
But it's almost like it's kind of Bob's version to me of Bob Marley saying, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." It's like, this is happening. You don't have to live it. You don't have to. You can be free of it. You can break free of it because it's in your head that you're controlled, kind of thing. I mean, there's so many universal truths in this song, isn't there? The famous one, the President of the United States must have to stand naked. It's like
even the President of the United States.
We all must face our humanity, our vulnerability. I always think, and this is why it reminds me of the modern world a little bit. It's always the Trumps and the power, all the tech billionaires, most of them, and people like Rupert Murdoch. They're terrified of their own humanity.
Yeah.
They're terrified of death. Like Rupert Murdoch, apparently, I mean, so many contingency plans need to happen for what's going to happen when he dies to his estate and stuff. Apparently, he won't talk about his own death. He literally is sort of like, doesn't believe it's going to happen. And I always think that's maybe not a life not well lived, but certainly a life not well examined. If you get to 90 and you're still absolutely terrified of death, I don't think you've thought about what it is to be
terrified of self-examination.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But it's partially a generational thing, I think, but not that everybody, like Bob's virtually of the same generation as Rupert Murdoch. But, when I was in my lengthy analysis and I visited my hometown and talked to my dad about his relationship with his father, or rather attempted to, I couldn't, there was absolutely nothing there. And he, I remember him saying, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to
My
consider?
dad's the same, I think. I mean, the thought of sitting down in therapy is just like, why? Why the fuck would I do that?
And to explain, because we both, done our fair share, it does make the examined life is more worth living. I think, having finished the, my Jungian analysis, I was a different person. And weirdly, I met Suzanne around that time. I was ready.
It's often harder, the examined life. It can create, because you're constantly, well, I am anyway, you're constantly reviewing things that maybe, they're not always easy things to sit with, but it's more rewarding and it makes you feel you understand yourself.
Well,
more,
I think we sound incredibly self-righteous here, but I do think that when when it comes to face your death, you're not like Rupert Murdoch or Donald Trump, just building all these giant golden encrusted thrones and statues of yourself.
It's Ozymandias shit.
Yeah,
isn't
it is. It's totally.
Look upon my kingdom in despair, mortals. It's like,
and then couple hundred years later,
no one
covered with
cares.
sand.
Yeah,
Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
It's all dust, as Bob says.
There's a brilliant thing that I just wanted to say that he does. So the final word of the verse is, they rhyme with each other for three verses and a chorus. So it goes 3 verses of rhyming, and then the chorus rhymes with that too. And then the rhyme changes of the chorus. But he then rhymes each chorus line with each other. He's doing this. I can't really explain it, but I just think most songwriters wouldn't think that. They'd have got too distracted by going, oh, how clever am I rhyming each of the verse endings together? And Bob goes, well, I could rhyme the chorus endings differently too. So you get this reincorporation across many levels throughout the song.
And I'm just looking at this one thing that just popped up here, where he rhymes, I'll emphasize the rhymes. My eyes collide head-on with stuffed graveyards, false gods. I scuff at pettiness which plays so rough. Walk upside down inside handcuffs. Kick my legs to crash it off, slightly off rhyme there. Say, okay, I have had enough. What else can you show me? No rhyme there. But stuffed, scuff, rough, handcuffs, crash it off, enough.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place. I mean, whoever before has rhymed stuffed and scuff? Scuff is not a word that is often used in songs.
I think there's a reason that this is the song he used as an example in the 60 Minutes interview to say, I can't write like that anymore.
Yeah.
I can't write like I did in the 60s. And I think the reason he was doing that, because it is like, how can anyone sit down to try and write this song? You can't.
No.
It's just, either, and it, can you imagine sitting down with Bob in 64 or 65 and him playing this to you and going, okay, I'm in the presence of something quite unbelievably special.
It would be frightening. Like, I think, Joan Baez was in the presence of him when he was writing this stuff. And I mean, actually, I would find it frightening if I was with somebody who was doing this, who had the mind to do this.
I think I'd be very disheartened at my own sort of futility.
Well, yes. I mean, there's many good things one can say about Joan Baez. And she recognized his genius really early on.
And she platformed it.
And she wasn't threatened by it. Like, I think she opened herself up to it. I think she realized that, she was Joan Baez. This is what she had to offer. And this was Bobby, her boyfriend for a while, who, had so much more to offer because he was the top.
And I think he's one of those people, isn't it? I imagine being around someone like that. Like that, you read books where you hear about people say, they've worked with a million famous people, but there's sort of 1, 2, or 3 of them across their lifetime that they walk into a room and the energy just shifts.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I can imagine that happens with Bob. And I think it was from the start. Immediately she kind of saw there's something different and special about this guy.
Or as also the other side of that is from the movie.
You're kind of an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Bob,
he was kind of
an asshole.
But how if your mind is shifting and your consciousness is shifting at this rate and you're able to write songs like this, how the fuck do you focus on being a really great person morally in the world at that time? You're almost possessed by something.
Possessed. Yeah, and I think that's what he was saying in that interview, that he was possessed. Because I think, as you just said, this isn't just about capitalism. It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
But I just want to read a few of these wonderful lines, just in case we didn't get around to reading them. So the fool's gold mouthpiece is so great because it's fool's gold, and it's also the fool's gold mouthpiece.
Yeah.
And of course, money doesn't talk; it swears, which we quote every week when we ask people not to go on the Patreon. But money doesn't talk; it swears. I mean, that's
brilliant.
It's like something that's been handed down for centuries.
The wisdom in even the president of the United States must have to stand naked. He not busy being born is busy dying.
I know.
I mean, it literally is. It could be a fucking religious, Eastern philosophy text.
Yeah,
almost. It's crazy. There's a line that I love that you lose yourself, you reappear, you suddenly find you've got nothing to fear. Alone you stand with nobody near. No one understands what he's doing at this point. Yeah. When a trembling, distant voice, unclear, startles your sleeping ears to hear that somebody thinks they really found you. Now, to me, that almost sounds like Dylan coming to terms with his. Not only his fame, but his deification.
His voice of a generation.
His voice of a generation thing. And the fact that he does have this gift. Somebody thinks they've really found you.
Somebody thinks
they've really found you. But I ain't gonna work on Maggie's farm no more. It's kind of that
but also, I think it's also about love and relationships. Like, that you think you know me, but you have no idea what
What's
my
in
head,
the recesses of my mind.
They would put it in the guillotine if they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
You don't know that. Nobody knows it.
Yeah.
There's
It's quite an anarchic song in a way, isn't it? It is saying this is the establishment, these are the corrupt things within them. The masters make the rules for the wise men and the fools, but it's almost like you don't have to go along with it. This is an illusion. It's like, live your life, don't fuck them, which is what I think I take from a lot of Bob's artistic integrity is fuck them.
Yeah.
You do you.
Is this the line where he says, all is phony?
Propaganda, all is phony.
Propaganda, all is phony. Yeah, and propaganda, all is phony. So ahead of its time. Now, in this part of the 21st century, everybody thinks everything is phony. Like, you have to check.
Yeah. Even
your nice little AI on your phone, which you think is your friend, is, quite possibly feeding you phony information. What do you make of "It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding," just as a phrase? Because it's very mysterious.
It is mysterious, but I mean, it's actually, to me, it's quite an English stiff upper lip type phrase, isn't it? It's like, a soldier coming back with one of his legs blown off going, "It's all right, mother, I was only bleeding, it's fine, don't worry." It's why we were very good at wars and taking over countries, because you have this stiff upper lip, push everything down and don't. It's
it certainly sounds like that. Like, if you just read the phrase, "It's all right, Ma, I'm only bleeding."
Yeah.
But it is, I think it is that on one level. I think another level, maybe it's, well, first of all, I have to say, I always picture Beatty Zimmerman. I always picture his mother, which is ridiculous because Dylan never writes stuff like, just because she's his mother and he sings "It's All Right, Ma" does not mean it's about Beatty Zimmerman. But so once I get that out of the picture, I thought maybe, is it America, like the motherland, America, saying, I don't know, and I don't think there is an answer. There is no answer lit.
No, all I can say for me is that "It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding," "It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Sighing," does two opposing things at once. One, it kind of, that sort of thing of going, don't worry, it's just a scratch, when you've actually really hurt yourself or something. It's like, we have to accept a lot of pain and how fucked up the world is, and we have to do it in a way that's kind of like, well, it is what it is, but the wound still stays underneath. But it also, it does also say to me, kind of, well, you've got to get on with it. It's life and life only. We will persist. We will.
And this is it. You've got to exist within the structure. This is the structure.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
It's life and life only. It's quite, I mean, the picture of, because he is American and he does write about America, it's a terrible, terrible picture. Here's, like all of his songs, by the time I'm about halfway through, I find that when I think back on the songs, I'm thinking of the beginning of the song and the end of the song, not a lot of the middle of the song, because I'm too busy thinking about the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
By the middle of the song, I've lost a bit of concentration. But I'm just flicking through the things. This jumped out at me. While one who sings with his tongue on fire gargles in the rat race choir, bent out of shape from society's pliers, cares not to come up any higher, but rather get you down in the hole that he's in. That's that I don't usually pay
stunning.
A lot of.
Yeah.
It's sort of saying this guy thinks he can see that you're the guy who works in the office with him, but you're writing a bit of poetry or whatever. Take him down quick. You've got to keep him down in the hole.
It's almost like there's an element of. So I'm trying to get my thoughts in order here about it, but there's that, I can't remember who said it. It's a famous quote, but it's, most men live lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
And there's something about that in this song, isn't it? The rat race, and you turn up to it, you don't question it, but part of your soul dies with it.
Yeah,
in a way.
It's about the death of the soul.
Yeah, I do think so. I was the line, "If my thought dreams could be seen,"
Yeah.
I love that line. It's one of the things, like I do now have some sort of spiritual dimension, to my life, but I've always had an issue with organized religion because it's across the Abrahamic religions. There's an idea that you can be convicted in the afterlife of thought crime. And I don't like that. It's such a despicable idea. And how many, innocent children, especially in the Catholic Church, has it caused long-term harm, saying you're going to go to hell if you keep, God knows what you're thinking. He sees everything, and you're going to go to hell if it's bad. I mean, it's just a horrible thing. And if my thought dreams could be seen, they'd probably put my head in a guillotine. And I'm sure that's the case for most of us. We have dark thoughts about things, things we wouldn't share with the public. But the whole point is you don't do that in actual life. That's morality.
But that's one of the problems with the current society, the Western capitalistic society that he's talking about. That it's only the artists that are allowed to speak freely, and sometimes not even them.
Yeah,
but also he predicts. Going back to the lyrics and things, he predicts what is currently going on with identity capitalism, or whatever you want to call it, about selling yourself on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
He senses this. This is going well. He's saying that it's happening anyway. That people are selling themselves as products. That everybody becomes an advert for themselves. That it's propaganda. All is phony.
Yeah.
And I think he was way ahead of his time there, because that's, we're selling this perfect version of ourselves on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah. Again, it's why I said earlier, it feels very pertinent to the disillusionment of the modern world with not knowing what is real and what is not, as it says one song earlier in this album. It's... Yeah, but it reminds me of another Dylan line in another song, I can survive and I can endure. It's kind of like,
isn't that Gloria Gaynor?
I will survive. He's saying all these horrific things are happening, but it's all right, Ma. It's life and life only.
Well, he's also talking about death. It blows their minds most bitterly for them to think that death's honesty won't fall upon them naturally.
Yeah.
Life sometimes must get lonely. We're talking about Rupert Murdoch again, and Donald Trump.
And death is lonely. I think that's the thing. Death has to be lonely. Not in terms of, you can be surrounded by family and whatever, but you are facing the end of your life on your own, and the possibility of something after, if you believe in that. It's a lonely thing. And people who don't think about it, I think this is one thing in Western society we do, because we're quite an individualistic society compared to a lot of Eastern philosophies. I think they put an importance on preparing for death.
Yeah.
Prepare for death. We don't like to prepare for death in the West. We don't want to think about it. It's taboo almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that I love this song more than a lot of certainly as the last few years have gone on, I found myself much more of a humanist, for lack of a better word, but certainly, a type of atheist, certainly not a person who believes in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And that's what I can totally relate to this song, because there's none of that stuff that Dylan now talks about. He does talk about when a friend has died and, he posts something, it's sort of talking about maybe the other side.
And he's been singing Every Grain of Sand has been the final song in the concerts for a few years now.
Yep.
And yeah.
And, fair enough. If anything that gives you comfort, I'm happy it gives you comfort. But I can relate to this song about his attitude to death and indeed life. I mean, the only line I think I have trouble with is "Old lady judges watch people in pairs." Thank you, Bob. He's still kicking the women when they're down.
Yeah. Well, even in the last song when we did Poor Boy, I didn't mention it at the time, but there's still that traditional Bob. Where's your wife? Oh, she's in the kitchen cooking. Obviously she is, because she's at home with me cooking my meals, kind of thing.
Yeah. Good old Bob. That's one thing that doesn't change. The only thing that doesn't change.
Yeah, his phrasing gets better, but his sexism doesn't. Yeah. But it was recorded in one take with one false start. So,
really?
How mad is that? One take.
That's extraordinary. because it's so difficult.
And it's a really great guitar part as well. I don't think that gets talked about enough. It's not very Bob from the early 60s. It's that sort of bluesy, it almost sounds Robert Johnson-esque.
It does.
That old acoustic blues.
Yeah, and it must be, he's pressing down really hard.
There's real licks, which he hadn't done up until then, in a way.
No, he sounds possessed, actually, like a Robert Johnson sort of character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking down again. This is the verse I was quoting before, but talking about Robert Johnson. My eyes collide head on with stuffed graveyards, false gods. I scuff at pettiness, which plays so rough. That sounds Shakespearean.
Yeah. Well, there's almost too much brilliance going on in terms of where he's rhyming things, what he's emphasizing, what comes back around. It's all happening at once. You almost can't analyze the song because there's so many brilliant bits in it. And the fact is, I love that Bob thinks this about the song as well. You know, he said it in the 60 Minutes Through. He also said in 97 to the New York Times, I've written some songs that I look at. He was talking about this. I've written some songs that I look at and they just give me a sense of awe. Stuff like It's All Right, Ma. Just the alliteration in that blows me away. Now, you don't often get Bob talking about his work like that. But it's true. I mean, looking at that, I think, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I'm just looking a line in front of me. He not busy being born is busy dying. One of his most famous lines he's ever written. But it's actually, there's a bit, depending on how you take it, there's actually a bit of hope there. Which is very rare. Like if you don't try to be born again every day, not in a Christian way, try to make something new of yourself, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
But if you do, there's hope.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And from a man who was consistently changed.
He does what we mortals basically can't.
He wakes up in the morning and by the time he goes to bed, he's a different person. He says.
Yeah, exactly. And if I do try, I don't try a lot of new things, but when I do, I'm quite proud of myself. I've done what Bob Dylan does every day.
Yeah,
and, God bless you, Bob. That was Bob Dylan Approximately with Kerry Shale
and Daniel Crespin, produced by Robin Guise
and recorded at Cathouse Studios, Islington, London.
If you have a Bobsessive friend, please spread the word.
It ain't quite the end.
Or just bid farewell till we meet again.